Must pay homage to the lineage gurus, homage to the Venerable Mang Liao Ming, homage to Master Sakya Tsung Kung, homage to His Holiness the 16th Karmapa, and homage to Master Thubten Dorje. Homage to the three jewels of the altar, and homage to the main deity of the group practice today, Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva, with the great smile. Sunu, Tanchen Gyatso, all Dharma masters, Dharma educators, Dharma teachers, Dharma lecturers, Dharma assistants, and all disciples present here and over the internet. And our participating VIPs today are Madam to Ambassador Daniel Liao, the rep of Republic of Taiwan to Norway and Sweden. Accountant to Jupiter Foundation, Dharma Sister Teresa. And the rep to the Council of Taipei City, Dharma Sister Hui-Ling. Good evening, everybody. How do you do? This evening, we had the group practice of Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva. And Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva is the savior or the head of the spirit world. As we have read in the Buddhist sutras, sometimes they are the 6 Ksitigarbhas. And the so-called 6 Ksitigarbhas are that in each of the 6 rebirth realms, there is a Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva. So Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva is not just in the spirit's world or the nether world, but he is in each of the 6 rebirth realms. When we read the Ksitigarbha Sutra, it talks about his origin. If you often recite Ksitigarbha Sutra, you would know. And how Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva practiced to attain the status of Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva. And today, I would like to talk about that some people have the opinion, so we would like to talk about this topic. Is there a hell? So today I would like to explain if there is hell or not. One time, someone went to a Siddha, someone with a spiritual attainment, and he asked the Siddha, "Is there hell?" And the Siddha replied, "No, there is no hell." When this person heard that there's no hell, he went down the mountain, and halfway down, he felt something's not quite right. So he went back and asked the Siddha, Was it really true that there is no hell? And the sage replied, there is hell. So is there hell or no? Please say it clearly. You cannot go back and forth. Sometimes you say there is hell, sometimes you say there is no hell. So the sage told this person, you have to ask yourself, if you have created hell, then hell exists. But if you did not create any hell, then there is no hell. Isn't that strange? Did I? Was it me who created hell? If I didn't create hell, then there is no hell. So hell exists only after I create it. That's what the sage meant. But is there hell? So you have to ask yourself. You don't ask the sage. Hell exists because you have created the karma of hell. That's why you go to hell. And what I say is slightly different from the sage. You don't need to go to hell to encounter hell. There is hell already in the human world. That in samsara, hell or naraka exists. All the hospitals are hells. So, what do they do in hells? They open the brain, they pull the tongue, or cutting open the eyes, the brain. And some people who cut open the body. So there's already full of suffering in the human world. There are many different kinds of hells. There are like hells that's bordering on hells or close to hells. And we all know about the 16 big hells of the severe heat and 8 severe cold. The same in the human world. That if you're frozen, even human being can be frozen, they'll become ice. So extreme heat or extreme cold. Those are hells. How come there is no hell? And there are also people who die of hunger, nothing to eat. Some people, when they were born into hell. There are some countries that have no food. And there are many countries without water to drink. They drink dirty water. And there are many places with the epidemics or pandemics. So you can see the 3 lower realms too. Like the animals that swim in the sea, animals who fly in the sky, animals who crawl in the forest or on the ground. they live in fear at all times because they may lose their lives any moment. Chinese often, there's a saying in Chinese that the big fish eats the small fish, and the small fish eat the shrimps, and the shrimps eat the mud. So that's the food chain, the survival of the fittest. So all the animals live in fear all the time. All the animals live in fear because at any moment, without knowing, they could lose their lives. You know, the animals or the so the weak are eaten by the strong. Those are the animal realms. And then the realm of hell, the realm of the animals, and then the realm of the hungry ghost. And the hungry ghost also exists in the human world. If you are born in a country where there are no food, then you would be extremely hungry. There's nothing to eat, so that's the hungry ghost realm. And in the animal realm, they live in fear at all times. They can be eaten up at any moment. It's the same thing in the ocean. Don't think that you're very safe. It looks like a beautiful flower, and the fish is swimming close to that flower, and the flower would close up and eat that fish. The fish was very happy swimming earlier. Grandmaster loves to paint fish, but actually fish live in suffering. Actually, they don't know when they'll be eaten up. Like there's octopus, and then he would use the tentacles to bind you, and you cannot leave, and you would be eaten up. If you become a fish, then you would live in fear at all times. Actually, when we paint, we always say the joy of being a fish. They look very free and swimming in water, but actually, fish suffers a lot because they don't know at any time they could be eaten up by bigger fish. So it's full of suffering in the animal realm, and there's also suffering in hell. The 8 extreme cold hells, 8 hells with extreme cold and 8 hells with extreme heat, and those already exist in the human world. We have people coming from the tropics, and I heard recently in India it was so hot to reach what degree? 50 degrees Celsius. and many people died. And the winter in Seattle is very cold. We were in Taiwan and we made a phone call back to ask the little kids, the little grandkids, how's the weather in Seattle? It's really cold, so cold. That's like the extreme cold hell. So even with our physical eyes, we could see hells in the human world. And look at the hospitals. They amputate the legs, the hands. Like if you have cellulitis, and if you cannot control your infection, you have to amputate your leg in order to live. If the cellulitis were on your arm, then it's the same. You have to amputate. The same with cancers. They have to scrape it off to clean all those cancer cells. So if you go to hospitals and you see those patients, they are full of suffering. One time, I was the first and only time I was hospitalized at the Zhongshan Hospital. And I saw those people, an elderly man carrying his IV and went into the bathroom with it. You know how difficult that was? It's difficult to defecate, and you have to carry that rack with you, and you have to take it off, and you had no energy whatsoever. But with the IV, that you have lots more urine, and you have to go to the bathroom every half an hour, and you have to push that rack all by yourself to the toilet. And then when you got out and just laid down, and then you had to get up again and push it again to the bathroom. Just seeing that elderly man pushing that rack with IV into the bathroom, I dropped my tears. That's hell. Except for spiritual cultivators or sadhakas. You know, Master Lien Teng, he could have attainments. He was also hospitalized before, and it was quite a sensation at the hospital, and everybody went to visit him, to take a look at him. A person with many needles and tubes on him, and he was still meditating. Even with tubes all over him, he was meditating, sitting there. If that had been me, I wouldn't be in the mood to meditate with needles and tubes all over my body. And still meditating, that's how Master Lien Teng was. He got cancer, and the doctors told him he only had a few months to live, but he lived 4 more years. Every time when he walked around, he had no fear, and he was still chatting, talking, and laughing. That was his strong faith in his spiritual cultivation. he knew himself that in the future he could become a bodhisattva. There's only one person without hell on this earth, because he knows that he will not fall into hell, and he is for sure will have attainment. So he had no fear. Even when he got cancer, he was still very lively and living just like a normal being. And he was still talking cheerfully and joking. I am not that, I cannot compare to him. If I have a little bit of illness, I would start complaining. So the guru loses to the disciple. That also exists. If I have a little bit of pain, then I would not be at ease anymore. I experienced 2 sicknesses. Once, during my retreat, my brain split into 8 pieces. At this time, I told Simu, if I had not been a Buddhist, I would jump off this building and I would die. But why I continue to live? Because during the split of the brain, I truly suffered. And I wanted to jump off the building, but I thought, I am a guru. If all my disciples knew that I jump off the building, then all the disciples would not want to cultivate spiritually anymore. So in order to prevent that, I stopped myself from jumping off the building. I went to see a doctor, and the doctor asked Simu, this Seng Yen Lu, was he suicidal, wanting to die? And Simu said, yes. And I said, no, because I want face in front of the doctor. I could not say that I wanted to die. But actually, yes, I really wanted to die. When you suffer greatly, so wasn't that hell? And the second time was when I was sick with cellulitis. The specialist on infections, and my leg, I forgot if it's the right or the left leg. I don't remember anymore. If the swell and the infection of the leg do not subside, then we have to amputate your leg. When I heard that, geez, I was so scared. How could I think like Master Lien Teng, sitting stably and not afraid of it at all? If I have my leg to be amputated, I would say forget it. How could there be a guru without leg talk, expounding Dharma and sutras? Then I would end my life. So on the surface, I look strong, but actually, I'm very weak. I experienced the suffering of human life twice. It was like hell. Every day I was dizzy and befuddled. I could not, there's no appetite. It doesn't taste anything. I could not sleep. And like in my wear, no more Lama outfit. It's just hospital gown. And I was limping toward the toilet. And I couldn't even sit right on the toilet. I had to sit sideways. That was days of suffering. I started to experience depression. When I saw another patient, I would cry. And I saw another person dying or died, I would cry. And seeing someone into surgery, I also cried. It would really make you miserable. So it would torment you. So the doctors are like, you know, doesn't matter what, they just cut it with their knives, and even with blood sprouting, they're used to it. They don't feel anything. So there are hells in the human world already. Therefore, so we have to be extremely careful, because as Buddhists we know they are all created by our own karma. And look at the places with the like in battles with weapons, fires. We hope there are no wars in this world, that we always live in peace. Because as soon as wars is started, then the human world is the same as hell. So it would be like hell. There are lots of things that's unfair or injustice. And differences between how heavy your karma is. And in Buddhism, we also talk about the common karma. And what is common karma? It's like, say, where you live in a country, all the people of that country experience the same common karma. The common karma. So in your spiritual cultivation, do not create karma. Don't increase your karma. And instead, you want to eradicate your karma. The karma due to the body, speech, and mind. You want to eliminate it. Then you would have attainment. Someone without karma, for someone without karma, there is no hell. But for someone with heavy karma, hell exists. So whether hell exists or not, it depends on yourself completely. So that's what I would like to talk about today. So whether hell exists or not, it all depends on yourself. we all know there are many countries in this world. A developed country and a poor, undeveloped country, underdeveloped country, and a developing country. We can say there are 3 levels of countries. And it's the same what your skin color is. The northern part of the earth typically belong to the white people, and the center belong to the yellow skin, and the south is dark color. How come? Don't you know? Because the north belongs to the water element and the south belongs to the fire element. So the northerners are more cold and the southerners are more warm-hearted. And at the center is the yellow earth. Typically in wars, when the north attacks the south will lose. Do you believe it? There are famous wars on earth, like the Civil War of America. The North won. Vietnam War. The North Vietnam won. In Korea, it's equal, but without help from America, the South Korea would have been eaten by the North Korea. But now they just draw a border. So it's equal. The North Korea is still there. If there are no countries helping the South Korea, it would have become the North Korea is like an eagle and the South Korea is like a small bird, would have been eaten by the North Korea because the weaponry, the weapon power of North Korea wins over the South Korea. But because there are countries protecting South Korea, that's why it still exists. And in the Vietnam War, the North Vietnam won over the South Vietnam. And wars in China. The Beijing, or the northern capital, won over the southern capital, or Nanjing. So Kuomintang Party was in Nanjing and the Communist Party was in Beijing. Immediately they won. It's already Taiwan and China is already very good. We are already truly fortunate that Taiwan still exists till today. Just through the Taiwan Strait. But if they both get into war, you would know. What do you think? One is in the north, one is in the south. The north is more civilized and developed, and the south is always lagging behind. That's the fact. You know, the countries in the world, you know, those who mastered the feng shui or ba gua, the 8 trigrams, or geomancy, the 5 elements, and how they generate each other or they win over. So why is the Taiwanese woman uglier? And the mainland Chinese ladies are more beautiful. Why? Because the Taiwanese are like yams, and the mainland Chinese are like the taro. They are all potatoes, but the taro is finer compared to yams. But there is a difference. Why is the ginseng produced in Korea is extremely high quality, but if you take the ginseng back to Taiwan and try to plant it, and you will not get anything. Why there is durian in Southeast Asia, but Taiwan cannot plant any durian there? That's because of the weather, water, the soil. And the women of mainland Chinese are more beautiful because of the water and soil there. Because mainland Chinese women are made of water, and Taiwanese women are made of earth. That's the reason. Water is very, very fine and feminine, and the Taiwanese is very earthy. And there is no good-looking Taiwanese man. And look at mainland Chinese men. See, the northeasterners are tall and handsome and big. And then the southerners are rather small and short. So when we study feng shui, geomancy, and bagua, 天地雷风泽水火山, heaven, earth, water, fire, lake, mountain, and 2 more. Fuxi. Recently, we were celebrating Fuxi, and Fuxi was regarded as a god and was enshrined as a god. And the bagua, or the 8 trigram that he drew, that he concepted, was very wonderful. And computer was completely based on bagua, which existed in ancient China already. So this bagua is computer of the today's world. So if you research into this, then you would know. And the 5 elements of China is truly scientific, and it's very profound. So as Buddhist practitioners, we know that there is a reason behind everything. Wherever you're born, it's not something that you can choose. Because if you are able to choose, then you are a sage. That if you want to enter into which womb, which place to be born, and which country, if you have such ability, if you have that liberty to choose, then you are a sage. Only a sage would have that liberty to choose. But without spiritual cultivation, you just go with your karma. And you would go into the womb of the woman destined for you, and who knows, in your future life, you would be Well, I cannot say which country because there would be racist. But if you are born into a poor, underdeveloped country, or you are born in a developed, civilized country, or in a prosperous, flourishing country, so the environment can change a person. So as a Buddhists, we have to remember this, is that your heart or your mind can control your circumstances and not the other way around, that your circumstances control your mind or heart. Then you would be held in bondage and there's no way that you would be liberated. What is good, what is bad? Very simple. If you do things that can make you be liberated, then that's good. But if you do things that does not let you be liberated, then that's bad. So things that would make you free or liberated, that's good. But if you cannot free yourself, then that's bad. So ultimately, in our Buddhist studies or Buddhist practice is to be liberated, to be free from the 6 rebirth realms. Otherwise, it's very difficult to say about good and bad. Like say, on the moon, is there good or is there bad? No. There's no human beings there. What would be good, what would be bad on the moon? Good and bad exist because human beings exist. You need to liberate yourself from all the karma that bind you. So Buddhism is to teach us to be liberated from the 6 rebirth realms. And Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva, because hell is still not empty, he cannot become a Buddha, so he is still a Bodhisattva. That's the reason. So today we were talking about Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva. Now let's continue, and today we will talk about wisdom empowerment in Lamdre. What is the samaya of basic position? Is the wheel of the altar. The prajna light that we took in the photos, that's called the mandala wheel. And there's the mandala in the sky. In Tantrayana, we have a mandala or altar that's being designed according to rules, colors, sand mandala, and palaces, lights, shapes to build it. You know, the body mandala is the colors. And the mantra that you chant is the mandala of the speech, the sound. And the light that you emit is the mandala of the mind. And you need to set up a mandala according to the rules. And that would be the wheel of the altar of the wisdom empowerment. And the samaya of the latter attainment is the innate wisdom. We have talked about that. And the samaya of food and drink is for bliss. When you eat something, eat food, and when you utilize your chi channels and light drops to generate bliss, that's the samaya of food and drink. And the samaya of guarding is to guard 6 drops of light drops. If you leak out your light drops, then you break your samaya. So if you can maintain your light drops, then that's the samaya of guarding. And the samaya of non-abandonment is for the real mudra. So you never separate from your consort. That's the real mudra. Or with the wisdom dakini in the sky, the dakini of the empty nature, you're never separate from her. For me, every night, I am in union with my wisdom dakini. After we are in union, then I go to sleep. And that is the samaya of non-abandonment. This is at the 3rd level empowerment. There is the altar samaya, innate wisdom samaya, bliss samaya, guarding light drops samaya, and real mudra or real consort and wisdom consort, inseparable from your real consort or wisdom consort samaya. This belongs to the wisdom empowerment. So the real mudra means the real consort, the physical consort, and the wisdom mudra is the dakini consort, the consort from the sky. So they use a simple word so that you don't understand. So it's like real seal or mudra. Actually, that means the physical consort. And wisdom mudra is the wisdom consort, which is the intangible or formless dakini. And the real mudra is the physical one. And samaya of non-abandonment is that you're never separate from them. And you need to abide by these samayas, extremely important. So you have to guard your light drops that it does not leak. And that's samaya of guarding. Samaya of food and drink, when the food and drink gets down, it would generate bliss. So when you drink the nectar, then you would feel the warmth, bliss, and luminosity and bliss. And if you don't eat, then you would die of hunger. So Milarepa finally would have to eat, because every time he eats, he feels warmth. He starves himself, then he becomes cold and weak. Then he will not experience any bliss. So you need food in order to generate fire. Then you can generate bliss. And samaya of latter attainment is the innate wisdom. So the wisdom generated innately. And there's also innate bliss and innate wisdom, which is the wisdom that originally, naturally existed. And that's empty nature. I I've talked for so long and it's not 50 minutes yet. And sure enough, it's 50 minutes. I heard that during sleep at night we have to turn off our cell phones. Did you ever hear that? Don't put your cell phone next to your pillow. Otherwise, there's radiation and your face would become big. Radiation. Wow, that's scary. From then on, I always place my cell phones in my bra. So that person was smart. But she did not know that radiation is very difficult to predict. When they research the cause of cancer, recently they say it's because of plastic. Like if you heat the plastic, it would be toxic. But how can we live without plastic? Everything is made of plastic. So that's very that's conflicting. But radiation is also one of the causes. A woman told the man, from now on your nickname is Hapa, hot pot. That's Cantonese. Doesn't matter. Understand? Hot pot. The woman told the man, "Your nickname is Hot Pot." And the man was upset. "Why did you call me a hot pot?" Because I'm asking you to get out here as soon as possible. But it also sounds like to boil soon. It's only meaningful in Chinese. That's about it. Because for hot pot you need it to boil. But boil sounds like get lost. As a Buddhist, like for Grandmaster made a vow to never forsake any single being. So I cannot tell anyone to get out or to get lost or get out of True Buddhist school. All I could do is to call her the ghost witch. I cannot ask her to get out because I don't forsake any single being. I just expect her to repent, to walk the right path. So it doesn't matter who Grandmaster will embrace them. Doesn't matter how you are. Of course, because I don't forsake any single being. The wife asked her husband, "Isn't the woman a rib of the man?" You know, it's in the Bible. When God created Adam, He took a rib and made Eve out of it. So the wife asked, "So is woman a man's rib? And the husband replied, of course not. And the woman said, oh, that's about right. And then the the husband said it softly, but it's like a spur, a bone spur. So as a Buddhist practitioner, now I have this insight that women are always trouble, big trouble, very big trouble. Woman is a very big trouble. Look, in Tibet, the lamas are all males, no female lamas. All the lamas in Tibet are females. And the females are called bini, or it's like bhikshuni. They cannot wear the lama outfit. All the lamas in Tibet are women. So at the time of Sakyamuni Buddha, all the ordained Sangha member was monks, all males. So I've said that the true or authentic Dharma should have lasted 1,000 years, but we didn't have it. Why? Because of the bhikshuni, the nuns. Because Sakyamuni Buddha's aunt wanted to become ordained, but Sakyamuni Buddha rejected her because he was raised by this aunt, but he did not let his aunt to become ordained. And the aunt took 500 females to become ordained, and Sakyamuni Buddha rejected. But it's just because of Ananda, who loved women and kept begging and begging and begging to Sakyamuni Buddha to let his aunt and the 500 courtesans or maids of the palace to become ordained. And because of that, the authentic Dharma did not last for 1,000 years. It only lasted about 500 years. So it's really problematic, really problematic. Hey, because you're a woman, please don't speak. A father asked Xiaoming, Xiaoming, was the test difficult this time? And Xiaoming replied, extremely simple. Then the father said, then you are oh, then you have a good grip of it, right? And he said, oh no, when I said extremely easy, actually extremely in Chinese is like 10 score. So 10% is easy, but 90% is difficult. It's also a play of words in Chinese. But to be honest, Buddhist practice is extremely difficult because the temptations are extremely huge. Temptation of money, money has extreme power. As I have said, 99% of things can be resolved with money, and the remaining 1% can be resolved with more money.
99%用钱都可以解决，剩下的1%要更多的钱。
So 99% of things can be resolved with money, and the remaining 1% can be resolved with more money.
钱是非常有用的，这钱太诱人。
So money is extremely useful. That's why money is extremely tempting. Nobody does not like money. But for a sage or a saint, money that is supposed to be yours, you can get. But money that is not supposed to be yours, you should not get. Like for Grandmaster has made a vow, I never open my mouth to ask for money. One word. Coming back from Taiwan to Seattle, to here, in Taiwan, there are people in line making offering of hatha, and there are always some thick envelope on top of it as offering to Grandmaster. And then so the Rainbow Temple prepared the red envelope, and the Seattle Temple also prepared a red envelope. For each ceremony or group practice, they would offer the red envelope. But then I had a second thought, that's not right. Because by saying that, it was as if I was asking for money from the Seattle Temple and the Rainbow Temple. So I was wrong. So that's why I said that it's okay that you just offered hatha without the red envelope. So I abide by this one precept that I would never ask for money from anybody. So as a Buddhist, we have to be like that. So you should not ask for money from anyone. Otherwise, like the ghost witch, she always asks for money, and she asks for a lot of money. So that's not good. So as a Buddhist, you should be careful. You should just get what is supposed to be yours, and never to cheat or trick people into it. Like $160,000 for one homa. Why? Because you owe that person 4 million, so I only charge you 160,000. That's already very cheap. That's how the ghost witch was. And one person, Lianhua Suqiu, said, a stockholder went for consultation, and he dreamt of a snake wanting to bite him. I forgot who told me. So someone was about to bite that stockholder, and the stockholder asked, why? And the witch replied, oh, because you owed that snake a certain amount of gold. That's why the snake wanted to bite you. And then she calculated, according to the current price, that would come to 200,000 US dollars. That's not that much. It's about 5 kilos of gold. Not so much, right? So she wanted to get 200,000 US dollars from that stockholder in order to resolve that problem. But this 200,000, I like to ask, was to be paid to that snake? How? by burning the paper money? Of course we can do it. Then a stack of spirit money would cost tens of thousands of dollars, and that 5 kilos of gold would belong to me. So that's a strict deceit. So as Buddhists, when you go around doing your work, please never ask for money. Truly, please don't. Otherwise, you would be creating bad karma, because money is very tempting, you know. And also, what else? Position. Like everyone wants promotions, and they want salary increase. Like to run for presidency, everybody fight for it. You know, like President Trump was very rich, right? So that's why they want money, and they want position, status, and power, and then also women or sex. That's also very tempting, because even the 80-year-old still loves the 16-year-old. So as a spiritual cultivator, you need to leave behind or abandon money, power, or status, and woman. And you need to keep to your duty and task and cultivate the best you can. So Milarepa, the Jitsun Milarepa, could have attainment. He did not have any temples. He cultivated in caves. And he abandoned sex. And he did not have any position or lama. And look at the great lamas would have that status and position, but Milarepa did not. And he also did not have any wealth. The only things that he leave are the clothes that he wore. The clothes that Lama wears is called the dignity of the body. So that's all he left. He did not have anything else. Really, spiritual cultivation is not easy. It's very difficult, but you still have to cultivate spiritually. That's for liberation. Buddhism starts from suffering, because there's suffering in the human world. Doesn't matter how rich you are, you still suffer. Doesn't matter how high your position is, you still suffer. Doesn't matter how beautiful or how good looking you are, you still suffer, because one day you would age too. Like Grandmaster. See how old Grandmaster is? Grandmaster is 75. I'm 75. But because I practice Qi, so I'm still okay. I look okay. My classmates, 8 of them have died, and the rest have retired and very old, with all white hair and the teeth are either yellow or black or all have fallen off. It's pretty good in America. The dentistry is very developed here. We can maintain our teeth. But in the poor or underdeveloped countries, their teeth are all really bad. So please cultivate spiritually the best you can. See, at 75, I can still do push-ups, and I have to do it 200 times every day. And I can still play Kung Fu or do the fist exercise. And I can even play the Shaolin pole or staff. That's due to the protections of the Bodhisattvas. Om Mani Padme Hum.